Okay, we're going to look at exam type questions with simultaneous equations, meaning the x is exactly the same in both equations and the y isn't the same in both equations. Now the first thing we need to do is we need to diagnose your equation. So we're going to see what's going on here. Now I've got 2x plus 6 is y. Then this is my first equation. And please label it as ... 1, because later on it's going to be a bit confusing if you're not labeling your questions or your equations. Okay, so then I want to put this into the same form that this is in. So this says y is equal to something, so let's put this into that form. So we're going to say y is equal to 3x plus 7. Now, in diagnosing this, we're going to go, what does the pattern of this look like? I've got y is equal to something, and I've got y is equal to something else. That makes it very easy. We're not going to use elimination. We're not going to use substitution. If you diagnose something very early on, you take your stethoscope and you listen to its heartbeat and you find out, now what is this thing doing? I've got 2x plus 6 is y, and I've got 3x plus 7 is y. Guess what? I can make those equations equal to each other, because if they're both equal to y, it means they're both equal to each other. So with our diagnostics, we're going to go 2x plus 6 equals 3x plus 7. Now it's a very easy mechanism, because I'm going to put all my x's on the left and all my constants on the right. So I'm going to go, let's put the constants on the left hand side, why not? So I'm going to go 6 minus 7 equals 3x minus 2x. Remember, what I do to the one side, I do to the other side. This makes this 0. And your teacher will say, take this to the other side and change the sign. But what we're really doing is we're saying minus 7 this side, minus 7 this side. This becomes 0. This comes to the other side. So I've got a minus 1 is equal to x. And that's pretty much my equation. Now you can have x on the left or the right. Doesn't matter. It means the same thing. So x is minus 1. Are you done? Absolutely not. We have only found x. Please do not stop at this point. We need to carry on. So we're going to substitute, and always say what you're going to do. If you're going to add two equations, say it, because then your teacher who's marking it can follow your thought process, and it's much easier to mark and much easier to get all of your marks if she can follow your process. Okay, so we're going to substitute x is equal to minus 1 into, and I can pick an equation. Which equation we're going to pick? We can pick this equation into, this is maybe 2 into 2. Okay, and you can write the whole equation, or you can just write 2. So y is equal to 3. Please put your brackets so that you don't lose a minus sign. Plus 7. Y is equal to minus 3 plus 7 is 4. So you've got a x is minus 1 and an x, a y is 4. Okay, cool. Okay, next exam type question. We're going to diagnose this. Very important, you need to diagnose what is going on here. Then you can see where to go from there. I've got, in this equation, I've got an x and a y. In this equation, do you see any y's? No. If I don't see any y's, then I can literally just solve for x. If there's an equation that doesn't have a y in it, you can solve for x and pop it into the other one. You don't have to eliminate, you don't have to substitute. Oh, my x looks like a Chanel sign. You don't have to eliminate, you don't have to substitute. You can just pop it in, solve for x and pop it in. And that's why we diagnose. Otherwise, if you hadn't have seen this, you would have tried to get rid of x and then y, and then 20 lines later. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Let's solve for x over here. So I'm going to call this number 2. I'm going to say number 2 is going to be, and this is very easy, x squared is equal to 4. And remember, from grade 10 onwards, if I square root both sides, this becomes plus or minus. Why? Because minus 2 times minus 2 gives me 4. And a plus 2 times a plus 2 equals 4. So there's 2 possible answers here. So we're going to have x is equal to, remember, square root is the opposite function of a square. So it's just x. X is equal to, and I'm going to say plus or minus 2. Then what? Have we finished? No, we haven't. We've got to put x into there, and we can call this guy 1. And there we go. Y, substitute. X is equal to, and you can do it separately if you want to, and you can say plus 2. And down here later on, you can go x, substitute x is equal to minus 2. Underline it so that your teacher can see what you're doing. Always, your teacher needs to see your logical thought processes. Then you'll get all your marks because she can see clearly. They won't be searching and looking for what you're doing and where your marks are. Okay, and you want as many marks as possible from now until final exams and beyond. So here we go. I've got y is equal to minus 3, and I'm going to put in my 2. My brackets are quintessential. Very quintessential. It's another word for essential. Quintessential, very essential to me not losing minuses and pluses. So minus 3 times 2 is minus 6. Oh, it looks like y later on is going to be at the origin. Why do I say it's at the origin? We're going to do this in graphs, but y is going to be this point. Well, if x is 2, so I'm going to have 1, 2, y is 0, meaning it's going to be on the x-axis for when we draw a graph. Okay. Always have graphs in mind from now on for everything. Okay, so substitute x is equal to minus 2 into 1, into equation 1, and we got y is equal to minus 3 times a minus 2. The brackets are wonderful. They stop you from losing pluses and minuses. So I've got y is equal to, now I'm starting easily, but this is going to get very challenging very quickly because they're exam type questions. Okay, minus 3 times minus 2 is going to be a 6. And a 6 and a 6 is a very good number, 12. So if x is 2, then y is 0. So I've got a 2 and a 0. Remember, this is x and y. It's like a coordinate point. And if x is minus 2, y is going to be 12. Remember, your x is first and y is second. Why do we do x first? Because when we were learning in grade 5, 6, 7, 8, we were learning our number line. And our number line was this way. And I would go 0, and I would say to 4. And I would say, okay, we're going to run 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then maybe we said minus 2, and we were going to go back. 1, 2. So we were going to run back. Then maybe I said minus 6. And so I would run back another 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The first thing we do is we run. In other words, we go horizontally. And then we rise. And we go vertically. In other words, we go up or we go down. And that happens to the y-axis. So this is going to get very interesting very quickly. Just touching on the basics. And we're going to carry on. Okay, so number 3, the first thing we're going to do to this is we're going to diagnose what is happening in these two equations. Do I have an x here? Yes, I do. But do I have a y? No, I don't. Do I have an x here? Yes, I do. Do I have a y here? Yes, I do. So I'm going to have to put something into x and into y. Now, if you get a sum like this and you try to use elimination, or you try to use another method, it's going to take very long. And that's why we want to diagnose, so that we can get to the point very quickly. Now, if I've got something with only an x in it, remember this x value is exactly the same as this x value. They are the same. That's why they are simultaneous equations. They're happening simultaneously at the same time. Okay, so what do? We're going to solve for x. So solve for x. Number 1. Solve for x. Okay. And as soon as you start to see these squares here and all sorts, first diagnose it. Do they both have x's? Do they both have y's? Then after that, we can start to talk about whether substitution or elimination is required. But let's see. Let's solve for x for number 1. So this looks like it's going to be a quadratic into roots. Let's see. 1, the factors of the coefficient of x squared is going to be 1, 1. The factors of 16, and I have a minus there, which means I'm going to have 2 separate signs. In other words, a minus and a plus. So 16 is going to be, I'm thinking it's 8 and 2. The factors of 16 is 1 and 16. Remember, we have factor pairs. Please factor pairs. Please don't do this. I have 1, 2, 4, 8, 16 as factors. That's not going to help me very much. I need a factor pair so that I can put that factor pair into my cross multiplication to find this guy's roots. In other words, this guy's x's. Okay, so, and we'll chat about that a little bit later now as well. So I've got 8 and 2. What do? I cross multiply. Why do I cross multiply? Because the inside and the outside and the inside and the inside must add to this middle term. Okay, so the outside and the outside and the inside and the inside, and we'll go backwards to see how this really plays out a little bit more, and just recap on that. So here we have 1 times 8 is 8, and cross multiply. 1 times 2 is 2, and you're going to add that up. What do I need to get? I need to get a plus 6 from this green guy. I need a plus 6. But I need a plus 6, which means I need to give a plus and a minus somewhere. How am I going to get plus 6? By saying plus 8 minus 2. And this becomes your bracket, minus 2. And we're going to say 1x. Then we're going to say 1x minus 2. So my brackets are now going to become... x plus 8 and x minus 2. And remember, we said the outsides. So if I multiply this out, I'm going to say x squared, x times x squared. Then I'm going to say minus 2x plus 8x. And these inside terms are what we're getting here through cross multiplication. This cross multiplication means it's this and this. Okay, so does this give me plus 6? Yes, it does. So x squared plus 6x. Please check your answers. Always check your answers, because then you can see if you went wrong or right. If you went wrong, just fix it. just fix it. Okay, and let's see. The outside is going to be 8 times 2 is 16, but it's going to be minus 16. And that's going to be minus 16. Did I go back to where I came from? Yes, I did. So I'm just going to erase this. And even all of this. And now, let's find what x is equal to. So x is equal to negative 8, or x is equal to 2. Now, I'm going to sub those 2 points in. So I'm going to say substitute x is equal to 8. We need to find y. Okay, we need to find y. So substitute x is equal to 8 into number, that's yellow. Substitute x is equal to 8 into number 2. So into 2. Or substitute x is equal to 2 into number 2. It's very good to keep track of where you're going. Especially in university, these things become quite big. We get 3 or 4, 5 lines of equations and we need to keep track, which is interesting. It's not that difficult, it's just interesting. Okay, so if I do this and I do this, I'm looking at, let's see, I've got y squared minus 8 bracket minus 8, so that we don't lose a minus sign. Y plus 12, and here we've got an x squared, so remember to put your square sign at the top. Squared. And have we got them all? Make sure you've got them all. I've got the y squared. Yes. Have I got the y squared? Yes. Have I got the minus 8? Yes. Have I got the x value? Yes. Have I got the y value? Yes. Double check some of your stuff. Double check some of your stuff. Okay? Now, if you put this onto your calculator, be very careful. Try not to use the calculator as much as you can. Keep it for trigonometry and for very difficult fractions and for logs, grade 12 logs. But in your mind, you're going to say minus 8 times minus 8. You're going to say, oh, negative times negative is positive, and that thing is 64. If you put this into your calculator, a lot of calculators, they're not doing BODMAS for you. Brackets of division, multiplication, addition, subtraction. So if you do not put this whole thing into a bracket, they think you mean minus, then you went 8 squared. And you get a minus 64 out. In other words, they said minus 8 squared. So be very careful and try to use your calculation skills more than your calculator. And if you do use your calculator, please, please, please put everything in brackets that needs to be in brackets. Brackets is your best part of your arsenal of tools to solve problems in mathematics, because you do not lose a minus or a plus. Okay, minus times a minus is a plus. Cool. So let's see what's happening here. If you need to pause it after this one and just think about it and maybe do it on paper and go back, then please do that. Don't watch the whole video through all in one go unless you're feeling like your brain's working at 100,000 miles an hour. Pause it, think about it a while, maybe go and take a walk outside in your garden and then come back and see what you can do. Okay, so what have we got now? So I've got a y squared. Minus 8 times minus 8 is 64. Plus 64y. And, oh, this works out to be minus 8 and minus 8. Okay, cool. And this guy became 64 plus 64. Y. And this guy also became 64, which I quite like. Plus 12 times 64. Let's just work this out. 10 times 64 is 640. 2 times 64 is 128. I split the 12 into 10 plus 2. And I said 10 times 64 and 2 times 64 and add them. Okay, cool. So 128 and 8, 6, 7. So I'm looking at 6, 7, 8. Okay, you can check me if I'm wrong there. You can just tell me I'm wrong. I'm okay with being wrong sometimes. It's okay. But try not to be wrong in the tests at all. So yeah, use your calculator in bigger numbers. Okay, so let's try and do this. So I've got y squared plus 64y plus, what was it, 760, I forgot what the number was, 64, 128, 8, 6, 7. If you do these on the side, it's very helpful. If you add them on the side, because we like columns. They make our lives easier. Okay, so 768. 768. 768. So we're going to, I don't feel like finding out this long thing with brackets, because that looks like it's going to be a, what are the factors of 768? The factors are 64 and 12. But now we have something called our beautiful quadratic equation. And the quadratic equation is, if you cannot find the roots, we're going to use this. So we're going to say minus b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. In the grade 11s walk into tutoring class and into classes, I say to them, what's your quadratic formula? And they've always got to tell me minus b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Quadratic formula. Okay, and the quadratic formula is a formula that you can use to find that guy's answer. So this would be a, this number here would be b, this a is 1 now, this number c, and we're going to substitute them into the formula. So minus, please use brackets always with this formula, 64 plus minus the square root of 64 squared minus 4 times 1 times 768. Okay, 64 squared. I can do that in my head, but let's try and use a calculator, because I don't want to get something a little bit wrong here. Calculator. 64 times 64 equals 4096. Okay, that's looking good. 2 times 1. Okay, so now that we've substituted everything, you can throw that all onto your calculator, and I'm going to have minus 64 plus minus the square root of 4096 minus. Now we're going to go 4 times 768 equals 3072. And I like that because this number is smaller than this number. If it's smaller, then this whole number underneath the square root is positive, and therefore it's in the realm of realness. It's real roots, real, because the square root of a negative number, I'll say that's I. Square root of a negative number is non-real. In other words, In university, we started making imaginary numbers. We use the number I. Over 2. So what's that going to be? That's going to be negative 64 plus minus the square root of, and let's see. I need a scientific calculator. It'll be easier. Okay, you're going to put it in your calculator. But this is pretty much 1024. And 1024 is 10 is 2 to the 10. Okay. This is a good one to know for exponents. For exponential laws, you can turn 1024 into 2 to the 10. So if I've got something like 2 to the x is equal to 1024 in exponential laws, I'm going to find a prime base for this. But as soon as you see 1024, please just know the pattern that this is 2 to the 10. So there's also a factor button on your calculator. You can use that as well. Then I can equate the bases, and x is 10. Okay, so that's just an interesting side note. So I see why they did 1024, because you don't really need your calculator too much for this. But put this thing onto your calculator. Please remember the plus minus of this equation. So 64 plus minus the root of 1024. The root of 1024 is the root of 2 to the 10. Now 2 to the 10 is 2 to the 5 to the power of 2. Because remember, square root of 9 is equal to 3. The square root of 3 to the squared is equal to 3. In other words, this was the backwards method of squaring. So I made a square. This was 3. This was 3. My area was 9. Now, if I find what that line was, it'll be 3. So if I square root any number, I'm finding where it came from, and it came from the 3. In sort of a straight line if we talk geometrically. Okay, so what have I got? Minus 64 plus minus this guy over 2. Then I've got 2 to the 5, because the square root of a square is just that number. Okay, and you can just put it into your calculator. Your calculator will do the heavy lifting. Make sure you know all your calculator's functions quite well. Okay, so now I want to factor out a 2 to get rid of the denominator. So 2 to the 5 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And if I factor out one of those 2's, I'm left with 4 of them. Okay, so factor out a 2, and I got minus 32 plus minus 2 to the 4, and 2 over 2 is 1. Okay, so now I can find my answer, minus 32 plus 16, or, remember this, or minus 32 minus 16. Okay, it's a plus or a minus, which means y is minus 16 or minus 48. This is very important, that we remember the formula. It's in your sheet. Remember, all these formulas are going to be in your exam sheet, but you don't want to spend 2 minutes looking for a formula and trying to figure out how to work this. Learn this off by heart forever. Even if you haven't spent 6 months with it, learn it off by heart. This after December holidays, learn it off by heart. You've got to say it immediately without thinking about it. And this is so that we can, if we've got huge numbers here, I don't need to find many factors. Okay, I don't need to find the factors were, what were they? Minus 16 and 48. So if I say 16 times 48, those are the factors to give me 768. But I'm not going to be looking for factors. There's probably, not say 20, there's probably 15 factor pairs, and factor pairs that I don't know about. So we use this quadratic formula very quickly to find the answer. Okay, and that's A, B, and C. Done. Okay, so solve for x and y simultaneously. Now this is very nicely done because you can see the x's, you can see the y's. Now this guy, if I add, I want 1, I'm going to diagnose what's happening here. I want only one variable, so that I can find the one variable in order to find the other. This one is very easy. If I add these equations, this has a 2y in it. This has a 2y. One is positive, one is negative. If I add these two equations line by line, we're adding columns, okay? If I add these two equations, so this plus this, this plus this, this plus this. Please don't do errors in your tests. But this plus this, this plus this, this plus this gives me an answer. Okay, so very, very easy one to start off some of the more difficult stuff. Let's see. Why am I getting rid of all of it? Let me just do it again. So you've diagnosed this and you go, well, this is number 1. This is number 2. I'm going to say add equation 1 plus equation 2. Remember to tell your teacher where you're going, because then you can get all the marks that you are due to you. Okay, so I put them on top of each other. I can put them on top of each other again. 3x minus 2y equals 8, and 4x plus 2y equals 6. And I'm going to add this. 3 plus 4 is 7. Minus 2 plus 2 is no y. Yay! Because I can only solve for something where I have one variable to solve for. Okay, so 8 and 6 is 14, and this is going to work out beautifully. Divided by 7, and hey presto, what have we got? X is 2. Are we finished? Absolutely not. Pick one of those to put x into. Let's substitute x is equal to 2 into number 1 into equation 1. Okay, underline it so that your teacher can see what you're doing. And let's put that equation into number 1. So 3 brackets x minus 2y equals 8. 3 times 2 is 6. Now I want to get that y on the other side, so I'm going to plus 2y here, plus 2y. Or your teacher will say, take y to the other side and change the sign. Shorthand for the same thing. 6. I'm going to take 8 to the other side as well, minus 8. So I'm minusing 8 here, and I'm minusing 8 here, and this becomes 0. Or your teacher will say, take it to the other side and change the sign. Shorthand for saying what you do to the one side, you do to the other. And I want 0 here. So 8 minus 8. Okay, so here we go. 6 minus 8 is, and I've got 2y on this side. Okay, so let's go. 6 minus 8 would be minus 2 is equal to 2y. Divide by 2 to get y by itself. And I'm looking at y is equal to, well, minus 1. Cool. So this one was a very easy one because we didn't have lots of roots. But we're just starting and it's going to get real really quickly. Okay, so now let's diagnose this thing. What are we going to do with this thing? I've got an x here and a y here. And I've got an x here and a y here. How are we going to solve this? Well, I can't eliminate something because these two are timesed. But because they're times, I can talk about find x in terms of y. And remember in science we had that force is equal to mass times acceleration. So if I say force is equal to mass times acceleration, I can also say mass is equal to force divided by acceleration. I can also say that acceleration is equal to force divided by mass. It's all in terms of F, or the next one in terms of A, next one in terms of M and A. If I've got speed is equal to distance, time, and we say speed is equal to kilometers per hour. We work a lot, very much so, with variables in terms of each other, and not necessarily variables in terms of actual numbers. Okay, so find x in terms of y. So I'm going to label this as number 2 and this is number 1. And I'm going to say number 2. I'm going to say number 2 is now x is equal to, so now I've got xy is equal to 6. I want x by itself to say x is the subject. X is the subject of the sentence. So I'm going to say divide by y, divide by y. So x is equal to 6 over y. Okay, now I've got x in terms of y. So now I'm going to substitute. X is equal to 6 over y into 1. Underline it. So wherever there's an x, I'm going to put 6 over y. So 2, 6 over y plus 3, y equals 13. Can you see now I can find a value for y? So what have I got? Anything in life is over 1. So 2 over 1 times 6 over y is going to be 12 over y plus 3y equals 13. Now, very importantly, I want to times every other thing by y. I don't like this denominator. Remember, try and get your denominators out as much as possible. So whether I move this to the other side or I move it all to the other side, I've got to times this by y, this by y, this by y. Then I've times the whole equation, left-hand side, the whole of the left-hand side. You've got to times the whole of the left-hand side and the whole of the right-hand side by something. You can't just times one individual thing by y. You've got to times the whole thing by y. So let's make this a little bit neater. And we're going to say that this is going to be 12 over y plus 3y equals 13. I've got to times the whole left-hand side by y to get this guy out by y over 1. Everything in life is over 1. What I do to the one side, I do to the other side. I can't just be timesing random numbers. If I've got a fraction and I need to turn it into a bigger fraction, then I times by 2 over 2. Then I'm not changing it. I'm just cutting it into smaller pieces. Okay? So I'm timesing by 1. And I can also divide by 1. And it won't change anything. But as soon as I'm timesing by something that's not 1, I've got to times the whole left-hand side and the whole right-hand side by that thing. Okay. Now let's FOIL. This into that will get rid of my denominator because y over y is 1. Then this into that will give me 3y squared is equal to, everything in life is over 1, 13y over 1. Cool. So 3y squared is equal to 13y. Let's clean this up so that it's equal to 0 so we can find its zeros. So we can find what this equation is doing. 3y squared minus 13y is equal to 0. Because we essentially need 2 brackets is equal to 0. But one of them in this case won't be a bracket because I don't have another term. So what am I going to do? I'm going to factorize out a y. And then we've got 3y times what is y squared? 3y minus 13 equals 0. What do I do with this? Now, just as you said, maybe x plus 2 equals 0, the 0 product rule, that means that x would be equal to 0 or x would be equal to minus 2. It works the same with y in these substitution, or not substitution, these elimination, substitution, simultaneous equations. So I'm going to say y is equal to 0 or this thing is equal to 0. So 3y minus 13 is equal to 0. So I've got 3y is equal to 13. Divide by 3 to get y by itself. And we've got y is equal to... We can turn this improper fraction into a mixed fraction if you want to, or you can leave it like that. You should get the marks for either one of them. If you turn it into a mixed number, this thing is going to be... how many times is 3 going to 13? It goes 4 times, and remainder 1. Okay, check it. 3 times 4 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Yes. Am I finished? Absolutely no. Because I have x in terms of y, but I don't actually have x. So I've got to put in y's value to find x. So I know that y is equal to, or is equal to 6. No? Xy is equal to 6. So I can put in either one of these numbers. Now, very well done if you went, this is not going to work if y is 0. Because x times 0 is equal to 6 is not going to work. And if I say x, that's going to just give me 0, and 0 is absolutely not equal to 6. If you said x is equal to 6 over y, and y is 0, this is undefined. So this guy does not work. This is undefined. Undefined or no solution. Okay? So undefined, no solution. Then let's take this one. So undefined, no solution, because you can't divide by 0. And 0 times anything is 0, and 0 is definitely not equal to 6. Let's take this thing, and we're going to go x, and we can say, I prefer this fraction thing because it's a bit easier to work with. 13 over 3 is equal to 6. Now I can divide by 13 over 3 both sides, which is the same as actually saying times the inverted one. So you can do that, or you can do this. X 13 over 3, and I can say times 3 over 13, because that will give me 1 and 1. So let's take the second one, but if you do the first one, you can do it on your calculator, and it's quite easy. Then this is 6, and I'm timesing, everything in life is over 1, I'm timesing by 3 over 13, because that's how I got this to be 1. Okay, anything I do to the left hand side, I do to the right hand side. So x is equal to 6 times 3 is 18 over 13. If you want to simplify that more, I prefer this number because we don't want to work with this number in timesing things. We want fractions. Okay, so 8, how many times is 13 going to 18? It goes once. And how much is the remainder? It's 5 over 13. And 13 is a prime, so we can't, and 5 is a prime, so we can't get any further than this. So my final answer will be the x, which is 1 and 5 over 13. I'll just ask your teacher if she wants you to leave it in fractional form like this or like this. But they're both the same thing. And 4 and 1 over 3. And that's my x, because I run first, and then I rise. Okay. Nice. Okay. Just take a break. Maybe pause it. Take a break. And let's carry on. Okay, so let's diagnose this one. Is there an x and a y in both? Yes, there is. So I need to either eliminate or find y's or do something. First, put this into a form that this is in, into more of a standard form. So this first one is going to be number 1. The second one, I'm going to change it a little bit, and I'm going to say 2x plus y equals 3. So that's, and there's only one y here, and there's only one y here, so that's not, so that's, I have it in columns, so that I can see my y's and my x's very nicely, so that I have it in columns. Okay, so this will be, you can call this number 2 or number 3, you can choose. So I got 2x plus y is 3. What can I do with these two equations? Let's see them right up close. Plus 4y equals 21. 3 is a factor of 21, and 21 is a multiple of 3. That's very interesting, just by the way. I want to get rid of one of these variables. I want to get rid of, and this is the whole purpose, is I want to get rid of the x so that I can concentrate on the y, or I want to get rid of the y so I can concentrate on the x. But now, if I was to get rid of this thing, the lowest common multiple, or the multiple that they can both go to, is, we'd have to say 10. So I'd have to times this whole thing by 5 and this whole thing by 2, and that means both sides, and that will get long and arduous. So you want to take the shortest cut, the shortcut that you can take best. So let's look at the y's instead. Sometimes you will have to do that, but let's look at the y's instead. So I've got a y here, and I've got a 4y here. What if I times this whole equation by a minus 4? Well, if this was times by minus 4, what would it give us? It would give us minus 4y. And if I use like a column method, I'm going to go minus 4y plus 4y is 0. I want a 0, because I cannot solve for x while y is sitting there watching the show. I need to get rid of it. I need to send them to some fancy restaurant so that they can sit and wait for its turn. So I'm going to say number 2 times, because you say in the equation number 2 times minus 4. Now you've got to times the whole thing by minus 4. In other words, the whole of the left hand side and the whole of the right hand side. And this is how you eliminate y, or you eliminate x so that you can focus on the other variable. And so this is called elimination. How can I manipulate the left and right hand side so that I can use elimination? So number 2 times 4. Now I've got to times the whole of the left hand side by 4. Then I've got to times the whole of the right hand side by 4. So I'm going to FOIL that into every term. So 4 times 2x is going to be 8x. Plus, but I've got to times a minus 4 in, sorry. So minus 4 times 2 is minus 8x. Minus 4y. You can times this thing by 597,677. Is it going to get you to your goal? Probably not, but you can do it. It's legal in math to do that, and it's perfectly fine, but it's not going to get you to your goal. You want to go to your goal, but it is possible. anything in math is possible. What you do to one side, you do to the other. You just can't divide by 0. Okay, cool. Is equal to 3 times 4 is 12. Okay, now this is going to become my third equation. Please name your equations, otherwise it gets very messy and difficult for everyone to see. You might lose some signs and some numbers. Okay, I've got a 5x. This is still number 1. I've got a 5x plus a 4y. Now I'm putting them under each other so that I can see clearly how to add them. And I've got invisible columns. What is it? 5x plus y is equal to 21. I've got invisible columns that I'm adding the x's, I'm adding the y's, and I'm adding the constants. That's why I want to put them very neatly over each other. Okay, and what is the answer to this guy? So, if I add them, 12 plus 21 is, I'm going 33. Okay, cool, 33. Then, this has eliminated the y. So I've got plus 0 here. You don't have to write plus 0. But it has eliminated one of the variables so that I can focus on the other. Send that variable for a nice dinner somewhere at a fancy restaurant so that we can focus only on x. Okay, cool. So 5x minus 8x is going to be minus 3x. And now I can solve for x. Yay! Okay, so minus 3x is equal to 33. I'm going to divide by minus 3 to get x by itself, minus 3 to get x by itself. And what have I got? Hey presto, I think I've got minus 11. Am I finished? Absolutely not. But we're getting there. And we've gotten very far. But you need to practice at least 20 elimination exercises to really understand how and see the pattern of how to eliminate and what to multiply both sides with, so that you can get one variable by itself. It's not difficult, but we just got to practice it. Okay, so x is minus 1. Let's see if we can get another page. X is minus 1. Let's put that in. So we're going to substitute x is equal to minus 11 into, and we can choose whatever we want. Let's put it into 2x plus y equals 3. That looks the easiest. So that can be number 2. So 2x plus y equals 3. Substitute that guy. Minus 11 plus y equals 3. And I'm going to go minus 22 plus y equals 3. And y is equal to 3 plus 22. So y is equal to, ding, 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 25. So I've got x is minus 11 and y as 25. Because we start a graph and we run first. And then we look at our y. And we rise. Okay, so I've got a few more, way more difficult ones. But I think we're reaching the 1 hour mark. So let's pause for a bit, and I should have an episode 2 of all of these substitutions, because they are going to get a little bit strange later on, because I'm going to have a number like this: y minus 2x plus 1, which is fine, equals 0. And then I'm going to have xy is equal to x squared plus 3x plus 2y minus 10. And that's gonna be possibly even a 10 mark question, which is really interesting. And you just follow the math and see where it leads us. But I'll show you how to do that in the next one. Okay, have fun practicing. You need to practice at least 20 elimination. And you need to practice lots of substitution. They're going to be with 6 marks. Grade 10, 11, and 12 until final paper. It's going to be 5 to 6 marks, generally 6 marks in the exam that you can have done and dusted. Okay, good job. Well done. And let's go.